Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. We are downstairs in my basement work area, and today we're going to be looking at the Reno 45 Pro. I've already done a review on this and a couple projects with it, but one thing that I would really like to improve in here is the air assist. It does have an internal air pump that does move some air through it, but I think we can improve that and hopefully not have to do anything too major to this to get that working either on just an external air pump or even through the control panel on air compressor for Lightburn control. So if that's something you're interested in, want to find more, stay tuned. I'm going to jump right into it. All right, so we've got the first test cut done, and had to run it twice because we blew through the first one, and looks like we're getting right around 19 to 20 millimeters a second, up at 55 and 60% power, which is the maximum that I want to drive this tube. So that is what we're going to be trying to improve, and as well as maybe getting a little less of this vaporization around it. So we're going to unplug things. We're going to start tearing into the laser to start looking at what's on the inside so we can see what we can replace.
So the first things we need to do is get the side panels off, and there are some screws on the bottom, so you need to kind of hang it over the table a little bit. Just be careful, maybe get some hand with that. Once we have those out, we can continue to pop these sides off. You're going to need a 3mm and a 2.5mm Allen key or hex key to remove these panels. Once on the inside, we can see the stock pump there and the air line that runs up to the gantry. Those are what we're going to bypass. And then there's the power cables on the back. They're kind of twisted into the bundle there. We're going to need to take a look at that. We're going to undo this little plastic wrap so we can get better access at those power cables. With that wrap undone, we do see on the back there's the outlet that you can plug the water pump in if you're using that. I don't recommend plugging things into this just due to the wiring in here is kind of a little light, but we need to remove these spade bits or spade connectors. You're going to need to get in there with a small Phillips head. This is from a small socket set I have, and you need to disconnect these spade bits from the stock air pump. Then you're going to need to reconnect the terminals that go to the other parts in here. So you want to get in there, make sure those get secured down nice and tight so that they aren't going to slide out. And then I'm just going to secure the old wires to the side of the air pump with some electrical tape. Now to bring in the air, there is this little round port here with the plug. We're going to pop that rubber plug off, and then one of these inline bulkhead air adapters will fit right in there nice and perfectly, and that will allow us to then use an additional connector to connect the stock air line to a little piece of our tubing, and then we can plug that into the wall port and test the bypass.
So before I move on to trying to add the relay, I am going to hook this up. We'll hook it in direct to that port on back, and we're just going to see what this does to improve our cut quality before we dive in and adding the relay. Now I'm going to turn the air pump on. This is a 60-liter air pump, and you can hear the difference and definitely feel the difference. So a big increase in airflow. So I'm going to run the same tests I did as last time on the same piece of wood. Hopefully we see an improvement in cut quality and hopefully speed. All right, we did see a little bit of improvement here. So we did get up into the almost the 21 range here. And overall looking a bit cleaner. There's not as much vaporization on there. It's getting blown away.
Now we could leave it that way and run it manually off of that air pump or an air compressor, but we want to use the Lightburn control. So we're going to have to pop this top panel off and also get the screws off of the top side. Then we're also going to need to take the entire panel and the door off. So you need to take all those screws out, take the hinges out, because that all holds it in place because we need to get at the controller that's on the bottom of this panel. Now there's a metal cover here, so take those two screws out. We'll be able to access the actual TopWisdom controller. So you'll see here we have a 24 volt and a Wind SP1. Those two connectors are what we want to plug in there. So I've got some 18 gauge wire, and you want to tighten down the screws, just give it a little tug, make sure it's in there securely, and repeat with the other one on the other connector as shown. Then we want to clean this up. I didn't take the plastic wrap off here because it looked like it would be a little bit of a pain to get back together. So I'm just using some Velcro. We're going to feed it down through that same hole to get it down to the lower area. add some Velcro strap in there as well. Make sure everything's secured to put our panel back on top of the controller, and then we can start reinstalling that top panel, getting all of our screws back in place. Just take some time, make sure you get this lined up correctly. All right, so here's our relay. This is a 24-volt relay, and we need to add those two wires. There's two top terminals. Those are the ones we want to be connecting to. It doesn't matter which ones go to which, so just pick a side, start there. You do need to run your wires through the plastic casing first, and then give them a nice little twist and slide them in and lock them down with the screw. Once again, just give it a little bit of a tug, make sure it's in there snug, and repeat with the other wire. Then we can go ahead and slide our plastic cover back on. That'll keep those wires protected. And then we can start adding our connect fittings on each side. You're going to want to use some Teflon tape, get that on there nice and secure, make sure the end is clean, and then tighten that down. Don't over tighten it, but make sure it's nice and snug. Repeat for the other side. It's very important that we don't have any air leaks on this. So I'm trying to keep this reversible, so I'm using some 3M heavy-duty adhesive mounting tape. This will stick very well, but be removable. Just going to make sure you get it in the right spot where you want it, push it in place, and then go ahead and tape down the wires, and gone ahead and plugged in the stock hose to the outlet side of that, and on the inlet side, we're going to just take a piece of tubing to run to our bulkhead. We can now start putting our side panels back on since we've done everything on the inside. Just make sure to get all the screws in the right order, and also don't forget about the ones on the bottom. So swing your laser over the edge and get those snugged up. And when running an air compressor, it can build up moisture, and you don't want that getting through to your lens. So I'm adding a moisture trap at the compressor source, and going to add on the adapter to plug into that, and then we're going to use the connect and fitting on the other end. Again, we're using Teflon tape. Want to make sure none of these leak. Get them snugged down. Just be careful not to over tighten anything. Once that's in place, we can go ahead and plug that into the compressor, and then plug our air line into the end as well. We also need to add a regulator. This is a regulator with a moisture trap. This is going to go as close to the laser source as possible. So we do need to attach the inlet and outlet fittings as well as the pressure gauge. So once again, adding Teflon tape, making sure everything's snugged down and connected well. Once this is done, we can start looking at the mounting options for the side of the laser. This does come with a little bracket. You want to unscrew that top little nut. There's a metal bracket. It has a couple of slots for screws, but I don't want to put on this on the back, so we want to get access to it. And there's those fins on the side, so I need to make a little bit of an adapter. I'm going to measure the distance between these two, and then I'm going to take a few different options here. We can cut down some plywood, make some strips. We want it to be a nice snug fit, and we can laminate these up and make sure that our screw isn't going to puncture through to the back. I'm using some wood glue and CA just to act as a clamp while the wood glue cures. I'm going to wipe that down, kind of clean up the edges just a little bit, and double check the fit before we move forward. If it's too tight, you can go ahead and just take some sandpaper. You want to make sure that it's going to slide smoothly in here, but we want it fairly snug as well. Once we're happy with that, we can go ahead and add our doubler plate using a little more wood glue and CA, clean up that squeeze out, and then marking the spots for our holes. Going to pre-drill for the holes, and then I'm going to add the screws just to make sure that that will fit well. Since we have a laser, we can go ahead and design a similar bracket. This one's meant to use 1024 1-inch screws and nuts. The nuts go in the back, and they are nice tight fit, and then the bolts will come through and basically clamp in, drawing that nut in all the way. And we can do that to center it out, and then just double check that that would fit as well if we want. But we can also take it a third route, drop this item into the 3D printer, make sure it's going to slice out okay. And the nice thing about this is in about half an hour, we'll have a finished part. So I'm going to send it off to the Bamboo Labs A1, which is a great beginner 3D printer if you don't have one. Once the print is done, we can give it a quick inspection. Everything's looking good. Those nuts, again, will just kind of sit into the back. It's a nice friction fit. And then on the other side, we can put the bracket, tighten down the bolts, and it should end up with a nice flush fit. And we can go ahead and add the regulator on there, and then we got to decide where on the side panel we want it to fit, at what height, and we can even give it a slight angle if needed. And then we're going to use more of the 3M heavy duty adhesive tape. We're going to go ahead and stick that down. I'm going to trim it flush on the side and the bottom of the rail. Just make sure it's only on the back side. Peel that sticker off and then pick your place and push it in nice and tight. It's going to be stuck there pretty well. You can see it doesn't look like it's going to come off. And the 3D printed look gives it that nice kind of clean polished look. So now we just need to add one more piece of hose. We're going to just trim this using the included tool from our kit, make that nice last connection. So we can bring the line over from the air compressor, plug that in, turn our air compressor on, let the air start rising, and then this will allow us to adjust our air. I'm going to start around 15 psi and run our tests from there. So back in Lightburn, I'm going to reopen our material test, and we want to double check that air assist is on. You can do this per layer. So in here, you can do it on the text side as well as the material side, or you could do it by layer. And if you listen, there, the air just turned on. I didn't have it running on the text the first run, so I did go ahead and run it a second time with air on both. You notice that the air is higher power, just kick that piece off to the side. But looking good. So I did rerun the test one more time, air on both text and cut. Well, let's take a look at the results.
All right, so after running the tests with the compressor and the air, I ran 2 of them because the first one I forgot to turn the air on for the text. The second one, it's on, and we can see that it's almost cutting through. It's at 21.8, almost 22, whereas the stock pump was barely squeaking through at 20. So getting about a 10% increase in performance. Plus, it doesn't run the whole time, and I still have more playing to do. We can adjust the pressures and see if airflow more or less makes another difference. But a nice enhancement to this, and also much cleaner, as you can see on this one. There's not as much vapors and smoke staining the plywood as it was over on this side. So overall, a nice investment, plus the fact we can turn it on off in Lightburn. So if you have certain objects where you don't want air, you can do that. Just be mindful that there is a risk to your lens that some smoke and vapors can get up in the air assist cone when you're not running any air assist. Hopefully this helps you. I did my best to record what I was doing. It's a little tight in there. It's a little tight down here in the basement shop. So hopefully everything came through and that it makes sense on how to do this if you want to do this. This will work not only on the Reno Pro 45, but on the 65. When I'm not sure that the regular Reno has any sort of air on control, but you could do the bypass and manually turn on your air compressor or use an air pump if you have one from another source. I will have links down below to all the parts that I used for this. So the relay, the regulator, the hose, the connectors, things like that, anything that I did use, I'll try to leave links down below. And also the little mount that I did on this, I'll have the STL files and the laser files if you want to build one of those blocks and mount that in there. Just using that heavy duty double-sided tape, mounting tape. It seems pretty sturdy. It seems like it's going to work pretty well. So everything I did to this, I did not cut any holes. I did not permanently disable anything. It could all be reversed and put this back to stock form if needed. If you're new here, I hope you'll consider subscribing and hanging out. I do a number of project tutorial type things like this, also software tutorials. I do equipment reviews. That's how I originally got this laser from Monport, as well as I do a Sunday night live stream with my friend David over at the Clock Shack. We hop on Sunday nights at 7 p.m. and chat live with you, answer questions, talk about new projects we've been doing, new products that are coming out, but mostly just answer your viewer questions for a couple hours. So hopefully you'll stick around and check out more of my channel. Appreciate that. Hit that like button. Leave me a comment on anything about this or anything else. And hopefully we'll see you around the next time. So once again, thank you. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. And more importantly, I hope you get into your workshop and make something too. We'll catch you next time.